So in this video, I want to talk about whether you can train when you're sick, and more importantly, answer the question whether that's actually a good idea. So far today's recording hasn't been going particularly well. I've managed to drop my phone into the ground and still recorded several minutes of me with my nose streaming. So if that carries on that way, I do apologise. There's not much I can do about it. Now, as you can probably guess, the inspiration for this video is that I am suffering from man flu. And if you work with the public, then chances are at some point in time, you will have and will catch some form of bug. Now, before I go any further, obviously I'm not a medical professional, so you take your own risks as you see fit. And also, any reference I have in here toward actually doing any form of exercise, I'm talking about exercise outdoors or on your own. I'm not talking about shared space. If you use a public gym or any shared space, even if you've got a gym at home, if you're that lucky and you share it with other members of your household, don't use the kit if you're sick. So over the years, obviously, I've had to deal with all kinds of colds, flus, fevers, even pneumonia. Yeah, it's fair to say I didn't train when I had pneumonia. But let's start at the beginning. When you catch your cold, day zero, you feel that inevitable tickle at the back of your throat or behind your nose, and you think, this could be a cold. What should you do? Should you train? Now, I personally tend to take day zero off, especially if I am patient zero in the household. I'll take the day off because you really don't know what's wrong with you. It's all too easy to go out there, train hard, and then find out the next day you're really, really sick. Moving on to the next day, assuming you've not actually had any problems, I'll generally then go back to doing some form of cardio. We won't do anything strenuous just in case, but for example, if my daily routine was 5 miles, which it is at the moment, I'll cut that back and probably just do 5k and see how I fare. Now, you may think that's a little bit crazy, and in many ways you wouldn't be wrong, but the reason I do it is that I actually am an asthmatic. Now, I don't take medication for my asthma, but whenever I get anything serious like a cold or more to the point something that goes onto my chest, I know about it. And if you look online, you'll see there's a number of articles that talk about running with a head cold, and they say there's no problem with it whatsoever. And in my experience, I would totally agree. In many ways, I actually find running with a head cold to give you a little bit of respite, because after a mile or so, your body does tend to stop worrying about the cold and start fretting about the usual issues that you have while out running. And if you actually suffer from hay fever or just runner's snot face, to be honest, it isn't really any different. Now, on day two, if you're in exactly the same boat, you're still not feeling too bad, I generally just rinse and repeat. If, on the other hand, you're feeling a lot worse, or even if you don't even sleep that well, you can just give yourself a day off. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes rest is definitely the best medicine. And although I shouldn't really have to say I will do just in case, there is a certain level of common sense that has to be applied. But unfortunately, in the world we live today, it certainly seems as though common sense is a bit of a superpower. So if you have any kind of temperature, fever, a chill, got the old creepy skin or a chest infection or anything along those lines, just stop. Okay, so you may be thinking, Steve, I'm not really that keen on cardio at the best of times. I'm sick, I'm not going to do cardio, but I do like doing weights. Can I do strength training? So just like with cardio, if you're actually going to be lifting weights, only be lifting weights if they're in your own home gym. Don't be lifting weights in a public setting. I don't care if you use hand sanitizer. I don't care if you wipe the equipment afterwards. Just don't do it. Right, without wanting to drift off topic too much, I would say all the injuries that I've ever sustained in a gym have been caused by lack of concentration. Done my shoulders twice, and the worst one was around about 16 years ago. And I just got to the gym, so I was doing a seated shoulder press as my first round of exercises. Got to the third set, last rep of the third set, and it was coming back down. And for whatever reason, I didn't pay attention right at the last second, and my shoulder just moved slightly forward, and I dislocated my shoulder. That's not a fun experience. Now, I've got a number of tips on how to actually recover from that, but the point I'm trying to make is that if you lose your concentration even for a moment, you can do yourself some serious long-term damage. Could be a sneeze, could be a cough. It could be that you just suddenly get a massive almighty headache from the amount of pressure you've got because you're lifting heavy. So if you do decide to do weights, one, try not to do a personal record on anything. And two, even if you can only do 1 rep or 2 reps and then have to stop, even if you're actually just lifting, you go, you know what, I can't do this, then just sack it. Don't feel obliged to push yourself to your normal standards. Although colds and illnesses never come along at an opportune time, if you find that you've actually been training hard for 5 or 6 weeks, taking a week out just to detrain is probably a really good idea anyway. Give your body a chance and your muscles a chance to have a full recovery before you start hitting them hard again. Now, what if you only have access to a public gym? Well, in that situation, calisthenics are your friend. If you've not done calisthenics for a while, and what I'm talking about is basically push-ups, pull-ups, bodyweight squats, all that kind of stuff, you'll probably find that they actually can be quite challenging, particularly when you do have a cold. So I would always recommend that everybody has a basic set of calisthenic moves that they keep in their back pocket for situations such as being ill or unable to attend a gym. The final question, when do you return to your normal schedule of exercise? My experience of colds and most small bugs that you kind of come across, there's usually one really bad day. Now, more often than not, the really bad day, or the day that you think is the really bad day, isn't. It's usually the day after that when you're really sick and you're wishing that you were like the day before. However, I tend to find certainly with head colds, they kind of go away as fast as they come on. So to give you a practical example, I think I started going down with a cold last Thursday, and the really bad day was Sunday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the bad day. I would then skip Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and try and get back to a normal routine Thursday, which is today. So I could just simply say, just take a week off, which is probably the simplest advice. But sometimes you can get over colds quite quickly. Sometimes you can just blast straight through them. So finally, thank you to everyone that commented on the last video. It's appreciated. And I'd be certainly interested to know anyone's thoughts on what they do when they're not feeling too good, whether they actually just push and train through or they actually just sack it and give it a week off. Let me know by leaving a comment below. In summary, I think anyone that's taking time off because they're a little bit sick is probably doing the right thing. But if you are feeling very hardcore and as though you don't want to give up, that's fine too, as long as you're sensible about it. And I certainly don't think it's a problem when you have a head cold, just as long as you're not actually out there infecting other people by using shared equipment.